everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney, your art Sherpa, and I'm going to be showing you how you can do the value study for this wonderful garden path. We're also going to do a couple of the test mixes to make sure that some of the odder colors, we're familiar with what we're going to use to mix them. So that being said, let's just jump on. Oh, you know what? On the mic is my husband, John.
Oh, hey guys.
He keeps me company.
Hello.
But sometimes on these little practice videos, I forget to introduce him.
You're like,
It's just super strange.
go, Sherpa.
All right, let's go.
Okay.
1, 2, 2.
Shh.
All right, so these are really fun because, as I've been saying all April, but I keep saying it because this might be your first video, the value of a value study is to get a sense of design elements and how objects will play together and correct for that or find your way into that without the distraction of color breaking in. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to sketch kind of loosely what I'm seeing here. And that way I can get my path going off because, you know, I've got this whole little path that I've got to get going off. And I'm going to just use black and white initially to get a sense of what the colors are going to be, not the colors, the values of this particular piece are going to be. So like if you look at this background, it's almost a little too wet on my number 8 cat tongue here. It's almost a white, isn't it, John?
Yeah.
It's so light. So light. So this whole part up here is just barely got anything happening. You know, got some just light stuff afoot. And oftentimes on foggy days, which people really love to paint, but they get a little overwhelmed by, is how do you paint a foggy tree or how do you paint that distant mist? And then the other kind of light tone that I might have is this path. So I'm going to get that in right now. So these are kind of the interesting focus of my piece. The path is a real good focus in a piece because it leads eyes in to our garden. And because of its light nature, it's also visually attracting to our eye. Now, in areas where we have this very light sky and then misty trees that are coming up in front of it, the trick to that generally is, and we'll be doing this even with the green, is to make a slightly darker gray than the background. That's even almost too dark, John. Just slightly darker gray because they'll barely be showing in the distance. See how we're doing?
I'm just adjusting just trying to adjust the camera so I can see those a little better.
That would be like that value of those little trees back there would be super light.
And you can just touch up there to show that that's the same value on the painting itself.
Yes, that's the thing that John really likes that I do is you can come up here and you can be like, is that too dark? Is that light enough? How light is that? You can always touch your paint to your picture reference. Like that's a good way to also practice color matching is you just print out the picture and see if you can mix the color by mixing it on your palette and touching it to the photograph and seeing if you're pretty close to it. Now the next tree is a little bit darker. I'm not going to take all the white pigment out of my brush because it's not like crazy darker. It's just a little darker. So we're going to come down here to this little grouping of slightly more saturated little tree spaces. And then here, as it comes back, this little tree fellow and everything under here begins to darken back up again. And then there's this sort of lighter, but still yet dark, but just a bit lighter, distant plantings. So now we have that sort of value scape. You can kind of see how it comes in stages when you're trying to represent that. Now in the garden, I'm going to just blend these here so they're nice and makes sense. In a garden, you'll have a lot of things that sometimes, if you look at the grayscale image, are very similar value. And we're going to be relying on color theory in those instances to pull those out. So I'm going to grab a little bit of my dark because the rose bush is very dark. The one that we have kind of coming through here. And then I'm going to take that almost all the way down across. The other dark little bush is right here. Another little dark fellow. Everything's sort of coming down on the front of the path. is going to be a pretty dark value. Okay, so we got those in, like kind of in shade. And then you've got a dark mid-gray really happening here. And I could see I could widen my path based on my object relationships to each other. So by doing this prep work, it really does help our brains see objects in relationship to each other and values in relationship to each other, so that once the green on green starts, we're not getting lost into the whole space of what's happening. This is coming up. We got this nice little bush here. And then there's a fairly sort of light little bunch of gray bushes that happen right here. But they'll have a darker base. And then we get another little bunch of lighter but darker based plantings right here. And so that's sort of how our garden will break down in this space. And you can always, like, you can be much more meticulous. The reason I tend not to be on these studies is I'm just trying to get a sense of where objects might be in relationship to each other and how light or dark something is regardless of the color that it has. There's a couple really unusual colors here that we've got to kind of think about. There's this burgundy tree here that I think is going to be a bit of a challenge. In some of this little green here might be a bit of a challenge. So I just want to take a second to look at the colors I have to see what I might use to get that color. Now, that burgundy is so deep, I'm guessing I could do maybe the vermilion and the primary blue with a little bit of black. We're going to see how that kind of goes.
I'm going to bring your color back in here so they can see what you're working on.
Yes, they understand. So I'm going to just look at this, and that looks pretty good. I might need to add a smidge of the black to it. But I'm just trying to, look at that, make sure that that weird color, that weird purpley color, and if I grab a little white to it, you can kind of see it lift and be similar to what's there. So that'll work. That's going to be okay. And then I've got this almost like an off, it's like a, I can't remember the name of what that plant is, but it's very milky green. So my guess on that's going to be to take perhaps my Naples yellow, my ultramarine, perhaps a little of gray, and work that green out. So let's see how that goes, if we can get kind of close to those strange little fuzzy bluey green plants.
Now, right now, there's a Sherpette typing an answer to what that plant is in the comments below. And
through the power of time travel.
I'm going to time travel at the end of this video, go read that, and then come back and tell myself, but I won't let myself tell you, because otherwise this would never happen.
So I'm just trying to find that crazy milk green that we've got going here. Let's see if we get close. Oh, wow! See, like on the palette, it's hard to be like, is that close enough? But I feel like it might be actually kind of close enough. I can get more into the blue here, and so I can get some definite little values. And you see how that's kind of like that weird milky color?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where we'll probably be playing with that. Now you're kind of seeing why I got so into my PY 53 Naples yellow, is because that weird yellow does some weird colors that can be a challenge to get fairly easily. It's why I like it. Not many great cool green yellows. That yellow being my favorite for that. And I think that's going to help with our little yellow bits here and our flowers. So I think we're going to be able to get all the other colors pretty easily. Those two are the only two I'm worried about. So I'm ready, I believe, to grid this image in. I'm going to turn around, done.
So before you go here, I never understood. You've done this really quickly. This came together real quick.
Okay.
But I never understood why you would have a favorite yellow or a favorite blue. I just didn't get it. I was like,
no, I had some real feelings, and all my colors are not here. I'm like, I'm working with some new colors, but yeah, no, artists get real particular.
And now I think I understand that a little better, because certain colors can make colors that other colors can't.
And inside baseball, that's why some artists, well, actually many artists, most of the artists I know, will like one color from one paint company and another color from another paint company because the formulations across different paint companies will change. So you'll have your favorite maker of a burnt sienna, but another company might make your favorite ultramarine blue.
Gotcha.
And when you look in a painter's box that's been working for a while, you'll notice a mishmash of quality brands, but not a singular brand. It's not realistic to think that that's how artists work. So if you're finding that you've got a mishmash of brands and you're wondering, is it okay to have these different paints? Not only is it okay, that's you moving early into a very professional space.
Cool.
Be good to your cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, that's a Troy and Abed in the morning joke there. Be good to yourself, be good to each other, and I want to see you at the easel really soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.